Good evening. I trust you're all doing well. So this video is entitled, What if Esther was given unto the king in the 12th month? If you recall during the last video, I had an issue here with year 7 and year 8. And year 7 doesn't fit and year 8 fits. And then I found something today. And I'm thinking that maybe God did this on purpose to hide the timeline. Because we know that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have studied the Bible through the ages. And God needed to keep everything hidden until the appointed time. So what we will be briefly discussing is the Septuagint versus the Masoretic text and the differences in Esther 2 verse 16. And that is just verse 2 verse 16, which is where the Bible says that Esther was given unto the king in Tefet, the 10th month. And then we'll quickly talk about King Ahasuerus or Artaxerxes, as is also known. Then the Septuagint versus the Masoretic text and why it could be year 8 and not year 7. Now, last time I asked you to do a little bit of mental gymnastics, and this time it won't be. This time it's scientific. And then we'll just talk about Esther Haman, the end of the timeline, and conclusions. Okay, so I want to show you the key differences between the Masoretic and the Septuagint. So in the Masoretic text in Esther 2 verse 16, they have the 10th month, Tefet. And in the Greek Septuagint, it's the 12th month. The year is the 7th year, that stays the same, and that is where I want to show you something that I found that could be a very well hidden a way to keep everything hidden until the appointed time, but you can be the judge of that. And then the king's name, which is Ahasuerus in the Greek Masoretic text, and Artaxerxes, and I'll show you that it's the same person. And then just location, it's not of any importance really today, but it's in the Hebrew, it's royal palace, and in the Septuagint, it's went into the king. Let's begin with King Ahasuerus, Artaxerxes. The Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament, calls the king Artaxerxes because ancient Jewish traditions and Greek writers like Josephus identified the Hebrew Ahasuerus, that's Xerxes in Greek, with Artaxerxes I, seeing it as a title meaning mighty king or equating them for a Greek-speaking audience. Now there is some confusion on the matter because Artaxerxes I had a son called Artaxerxes II, but we know that Ahasuerus is Artaxerxes. And this is his timeline. And his timeline runs from where he began to rule in the year 486 BC, and I've got the first 15 years of his rule here. And I've equated that to our time. And then, of course, there has to be things that fit. So I always have Jesus' birthday year, the 24th of September in the year 3 BC, which was the Feast of Trumpets on that day. So for me, that's a massive marker always. And then here in 2017, on our timeline, we had the Revelation 12 sign for the first time on the 23rd, 24th September 2017. And you can see a small little depiction of it there. And it is basically in the middle of the year. Now this is the year in which King Ahasuerus began his reign, somewhere in this year. And that is called the Accession year. And this would be then year 1. Now look what happened in the middle of year 1. We had a full moon, and it wasn't just a full moon, it was on the Feast of Trumpets, 24th of September. So basically exactly 1 year from the Revelation 12 sign on our time. That would be 1 year. But of course this full moon happened back in 486 BC. And it's interesting that he reigned for a longer period than this, but exactly 19 years after this full moon, that is the cycle, there's another one on 24 September. So it's quite interesting that we have all this symbolism here for his reign, just the start thereof, and it all has to do with the Feast of Trumpets. And whenever I see the Feast of Trumpets on the 24th of September specifically, I pay extra attention because I know that that is the birthday of our God, Jesus. The Septuagint and the Masoretic text. So the Septuagint, the LXX, is significantly older, being a Greek translation of Hebrew scriptures from the 3rd to the 1st century before Christ, whilst the Masoretic text is the standardized Hebrew text solidified much later, with its oldest complete Hebrew manuscripts from the 10th to the 11th century after Christ. So the Masoretic text's final form is centuries newer. Not just centuries, you can basically say 1,200 years difference between the two. This would have been, the Septuagint would have been the Bible that the disciples and Jesus himself were using in Greek. And it was obviously translated from Hebrew before that, but this is 300 before Christ at that point, and that is not very long after King Ahasuerus lived. So if it was translated from Hebrew, then I would be inclined to believe that it is more accurate in terms of historical dates and things like that. But like I said before, I think there's a specific reason why God allowed this to happen, and that was to basically throw everybody off the scent. And I think it's fascinating. And here you can just see the Old Greek Septuagint, and it basically has, and Esther went into King Artaxerxes in the 12th month, which is Adar in the 7th year. So the 7th year is fixed, but they're using the 12th month. And then Brenton's Septuagint translation also has it as the 12th month. And the Greek Alpha texts also has it as the 12th month. And then the writings of Josephus also has it as the 12th month. So there's plenty of evidence that suggests that Esther was given unto the king in the 12th month, and that was later changed, but I think it was a prophetic instruction to have it changed, and I will explain that just now. Maybe I should just say that the Masoretic text, which is about 1,000 years ago, that is where our Bibles are translated from. So the Septuagint, of course, is 1,200 years older than that again. But over here on the left, we have the dark moon calendar, and over here we have the full moon calendar. Now, Mordecai was a first generation Jew in captivity. He was one of those that went into captivity to Babylon. So he grew up in Israel, and he would have been very familiar with the full moon calendar, as that was the calendar that they were using. And his adopted daughter Esther as well. And all the Jews, the first generation Jews, would have still been or still have known about the full moon calendar. So I believe that that Esther's period of preparation began on the 1st of April, which is the new year on the full moon calendar, and it continued for 12 months or a year, and that would bring you to the 11th of April over here, and that was the year of preparation. And she was given unto the king either on the 11th or the 12th for marriage. And of course, the book of Esther was written by a Jew. It's a Jewish story. Nobody else would have written it. And that Jew would have also used the full moon calendar, because that was their calendar. So as the generations passed, as they were in captivity, they all basically, this calendar, the full moon calendar, fell into disarray or disuse, and they all started using the Babylonian calendar. So the story was written, and in the story it said that Esther was in the 7th year of King Ahasuerus' rule, in the 12th month, she was finished with a year of preparation. And the story was written like that, and it went as part of the canon, and it became, it was written in the Septuagint 200 years before Christ, and then later on in the Masoretic text, it was changed to the 10th month, but there was a reason for that, and I think that is a prophetic reason. But you see what happened here now is the 11th of April over here. The whole story is now already written and established, and it was the 12th month. But everyone began to use the Babylonian calendar. So the 11th of April over here is already in year 8. And that is what I believe was kept hidden. So year 8, as you know, fits perfectly. And this story doesn't involve any mathematical gymnastics or mental gymnastics. Not at all. If it was a full year of preparation, as you have it there, then April the 11th over here, the new year began on March 29. So that's well into year 8 already. So everything fits again on the timeline. But I think that this was kept hidden for a specific reason. And that reason was so that everyone thought it was year 7, and you couldn't analyze the timeline correctly, because it had to be hidden until the appointed time, which is the end times. And I believe that we are firmly in the season of the end times. So I'm quickly going to go through Haman's story again. So, but the Bible says in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus' rule, Haman, in the beginning of Nisan, which would be either the first or the second of Nisan, or beginning of Nisan, got together with these black magic astronomers, or whatever you want to call them, but they're satanic, and they cast lots for every single day in the coming year to determine when they were going to kill all the Jews, and they determined the 13th day of the month of Adar would be the best day. And they went to the king on the 13th of April. You can see it over here in the year 475. They cast lots and they went to the king on the 13th of April. And in our time, it's exactly the same on this timeline that I'm now showing you. That's where they began in Nisan, and on the 13th of April, they went to the king. And the letters went out, and basically on our timeline, this would be 13 April 2029, and that's when Apophis hits the earth. And a specific period, 1 year, 1 month, 1 day later, the 4 angels are released to kill a third of mankind. But in Haman's time, it was going to be basically 11 months, but Esther intervened. But this time, there is no Esther on earth, so there will be no intervention. But you can see the corresponding dates over a period of 2,500 years. I thought that was amazing. Okay, just quickly have to recap the end of the timeline as well. So this is King Ahasuerus' timeline, and it began on the Revelation 12 sign, as you've seen. That's year 1, and then it runs to year 15, which is the year 472 BC. You can see over here, the year 472 BC has a 17 November. On our time, 17 November on the full moon, beginning of the month. And on our time, in the year 2032, it also has a 17 November, which is the Feast of Trumpets, and you can see it over here. And that is the end of a 12-year timeline that consists out of 5 prophetic years and 7 normal years, running from the 14th of December, which was in the middle of the 2 solar eclipses that were 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days apart. So we have the 15-year timeline coming in from the Revelation 12 sign, and then on the same timeline basically, and then 12 years from the solar eclipses to the 17th, and it all fits perfectly. Okay, so here we have 2025, and then we have the 10th month, which is Tefet, and our modern Bible say in the 10th month she was given unto the king, and that is January the 3rd. But if you look at 2,500 years ago, in the year 479 BC, the 10th month began on January the 3rd as well. So this is why I believe that it is still the 10th month. God, on that timeline you've seen, God used the difference between the calendars to hide year 8 so that we couldn't figure it out before. And then sometime later, centuries or millennium later, he gave prophetic instruction for one of the translators or one of the guys creating the Masoretic text to put in there the 10th month, because that was the day that he always intended for it. But I believe that he did this on purpose to hide year 8 so that it didn't make sense for anyone. So I still firmly believe that we are in the month, but we have to wait and see. So if we say, for argument's sake, that the translation from the Septuagint to the Masoretic was an accident, and it is actually the 12th month, then that would mean that the rapture can only be from the 3rd of March 2026 to the 1st of April 2026, any day in between then. And it will also mean that the 7th tribulation will likely run from March, April to April 2033. But like I say, I still firmly believe it is the 10th month, and the reason for that is in 2025 we have the 3 January that corresponds over the 2,500 years. But I thought this is also just a possibility. But one thing I must say now is that timeline as it is now makes 100% perfect sense to me. And I like it when things make sense. We've got Jesus' birthday and the Feast of Trumpets on the 24th of September. Whenever you see 24th September and Feast of Trumpets together, which is the first of the beginning of the new year, then you have to pay attention. So basically, I love how this reads now. So in 2017, we had the Revelation 12 sign, and that was one sign that's never occurred before. So it was like a major sign in heaven saying, attention. And that happened exactly in the time where King Ahasuerus was busy with his accession year. So his first year began in 2018, and in the middle of his first year, in his time, he had a full moon Feast of Trumpets on the 24th of September, which is Jesus' birthday. So there's a confluence of signs over here, and we know that the count began over there, and that's year 1, 2017, year 1. And then we continue the count, and we get to 2020, which is where we had 2 solar eclipses, and there's a 12-year count running from there to the same date as this one. And then we get to year 7, and this is where I believe God allowed the discrepancy between the calendars to occur, so that the Bible would say year 7, and it is actually year 8. But if you look at year 7, then if you take that as year 7, then you can't line up Haman, because Haman would then be in year 11, and then none of the dates will line up. And this is why nothing fits, because now in year 8, if you take that hidden year now, that's 3 January that spans across 2,500 years. And here by Haman, we've got the 13 April, 30 March, beginning Nisan 1 and Nisan 13, respectively, that fits, that spans over the 2,500 years. And here in year 15, we've got the 17 November that spans over the 2,500 years. So everything on this timeline fits, and we've got multiple hits on dates that fit across the timeline. And, you know, every time you get another date that fit across the time like that, the odds of that happening increases exponentially. So I believe this timeline is 100% correct. I do believe, and I will reiterate this, that it is the 3rd of January, the month of Tefet. I believe that God gave prophetic instruction to the translators to use Tefet, so to change it from the 12th to the 10th. He only did that so that this year would be hidden. And we are looking at the 3rd of January, because in 2025 there is a 3 January that corresponds over 2,500 years, and I firmly believe that. But anyway, guys, I thought I'd bring the information to you. You can make up your own mind. I must say I'm quite convinced that this timeline is sorted, at least in my own mind. But anyway, have a blessed day. God bless you, and goodbye.